I didn't get to talk to you about the Anthony Joshua fight.
Oh man, yeah. Tony Atlas said he set physical fitness back 100 years. He got fast hands, baby.
Yeah.
And he hit to hurt.
Because I meant to watch it. I forgot. Wow, I forgot to watch it.
So I didn't really plan on watching just because it's that. I mean, he
was like,
got him a fight.
He was a throw-in anyway, right? He was
a place filler.
It goes that way sometimes because you train a certain way, you're expecting one thing and another thing comes your way. But it's just when you juxtapose the two men, you have Andy Ruiz, who's chubby Mexican, like 6'1", 6'2", bloated, and then you got Anthony Joshua, who's 6'5", 6'6", look like he's carved out of granite, like prototype heavyweight in terms of his movement. Doesn't have a lot of upper body dexterity, in my own opinion. Which I guess Andy Ruiz's people noticed too, because it left him really vulnerable. He could hit with some hard shots, and Andy Ruiz got dropped, early in the fight. But yeah, he got his ass up and drummed him right up. So now that just
changed the game.
Yeah, I mean they're going to do a rematch.
I mean, when I heard that he lost, I was like, what? And then I actually started seeing the footage, and I was like, wow, Ruiz got some hand speed on.
Right. If that same Andy Ruiz shows up, I would be surprised if you get a different outcome. But it could be the Buster Douglas effect, where you get that title and you just forego training and just live that good life that he hasn't lived before. In Buster's case, he obviously had the greatest upset in the history of boxing, maybe even pro sports, beating an undefeated Mike Tyson.
Iron.
And that was in February, and then I believe it was October he fought Evander Holyfield.
And the real deal.
Yeah, whooped every bit of his ass. And
whooped that trick.
And Buster wasn't motivated, he had already just did the unthinkable, so he was still living on that high. So
and nothing could that time everything. Oh, it's all about timing with anything. With Buster, like when you always watch that story, like his mother just passed, and
Mike being in his he wasn't in his physical decline, but
he wasn't worried about that fight.
He was in a bad mental place.
Exactly,
because
he wasn't worried about that.
He had everybody and his mother telling him that he was invincible. You got nuts to steal. Nobody can touch you, harm you. You're a
and
king.
He's been doing
You're going to be doing this for the next foreseeable future. There's nobody around that can touch you. You're going to whoop his ass, and then we're going to get that real payday at Evander X amount of months away.
That's why he had a whack crew with him. Like, I still never forget, they ain't had no ice, man.
Right. They had
water
and a glove.
And try to put that on his face, man.
They thought the fight was going to be over like that, and there would be no need for ice.
Absolutely. They thought he was going to do what Mike was going to do. But you knew after that first round, oh shit.
No,
he was like Buster here.
I was like, man, we ain't got no ice.
No,
right.
That jab was coming.
And them rights was coming in. After that first round, I was like, oh shit.
And he was swinging them.
We might see something different here,
He was not scared. That was the whole twist. Tyson always had bulls that could stare down in the middle of the ring. Buster was the first bull for me that was like looking at him like, motherfucker, you better be scared of me right now. You understand?
And that's what he told his, I believe his brother or somebody in his family, like, that motherfucker better worry about me. You worried about him hurting me. It's the other way around this time.
Exactly.
Okay. I hear you, James. Let's see what happens. And the story checked out. But,
talking to a grown man.
That's like a sports one-hit wonder for you. So, circle back to Ruiz. Andy Ruiz could either do that or he could drop Anthony Joshua again with another payday and then set up a fight down the line with either Tyson Fury or Deontay Wilder.
They're going to rematch. I don't think he's going to drop him again in the rematch, though.
You didn't think he was going to drop him the first time, so...
Right, nobody did, but I don't think... A fighter of Joshua's caliber, I think he's definitely going to train. He'll come back.
Caliber?
I understand that, but you can't train
exactly.
No.
What he can do is fight a defensive fight, but...
He can definitely develop a strategy.
But... it has to be a winning strategy. Like, it's one thing to strategize to not get hit. That might just keep you upright for 12 rounds, but it doesn't give you a victory. Especially now because Andy has the title. You have to take the title. You can't be passive for 12 rounds and expect to win.
I think also now after this whooping, though, Joshua will have a newfound level of respect.
Yeah, I would say that 100%.
So that definitely will make you a little more cautious.
Right,
but
he ain't got no chin, man. That's all I needed to see right there.
I can't
That's
say
what
that he don't have no chin.
Man,
but-
listen, man.
I'm saying you can't train the chin. Whether or not he has one or not, we'll see. But one thing's
if
for
that was
sure is
Fury
that
or my man Wilder, it would have been over earlier, man. That's why he been avoiding them balls and ain't want no smoke with him.
and then Joshua dropped him
You know what I'm saying?
first. Like that could have been the ender. Like, yeah, he would have to do. The main thing is how does he react after getting knocked out? Like that man hits him one time, he might piss himself. Like he ain't never been in that position. He had an O there. So for him to come back after getting unquestionably beaten, like he was the better man. I can't do anything. He won that night. He ain't never had to do that.
You're him. Why do I feel like this?
Right. Like, yeah, man. So
Yeah, you never been whooped all like that before. So
it happens, man. That's the game.
So yeah,
It was entertaining, man. I wish I would have put some money on his ass. Oh, it hurt me so bad. I think he was like plus 1,400, which essentially means if you bet $100, you would win $1,400 back. See, if you put 50,
you should start betting on underdog and
yeah. See, the beauty of being in Pennsylvania right now is that we are probably within 30 days of online sports betting being universal. They already you can download the sports app for Sugar House. Currently, they already did it. I'm partial to Parks just because I already got their bet slip builder. So once they go live with the online sports betting, I'm signed up for that.
Yeah, my man over here, you want to talk to the shark? We got sharks going.
In most cases, when they start a new online service, one of the initial things they do is they match your deposit up to $250. So if I put $250 down, they'll match it, and you place one bet, that money comes into your account. So if I was just being a greedy ass, I could just take that $500 and just make that mine. Nobody does. Well, I guess some people do that, but that just gives you $500 in bet money.
I assume that's like a one-time thing.
Correct. First time. No, right.
Because the house gonna win.
Right.
Yeah, we got you.
And because
Come
it's
on.
just now coming to PA, they're going to do anything they can to bring you to theirs. So it's going to be competition. So I can see Parks getting a couple hundred.
Yeah,
from
I'm
these
about
matches
to
that
watch
giant.
underdogs.
Why not?
I've seen a couple upsets.
Why the hell
It's
not?
time.
Yeah. And it's right in time for the start of football season, man. Shit.
Yes. I just felt bad that Deontay Wilder didn't get the opportunity to knock him out first. Not saying that he necessarily would have been a fight, but
He would have. I ain't never believed
That
that.
gives him the role of Evander. You know what I mean? So it happens.
I mean, but it's good for heavyweight boxing.
If I'm Andy Ruiz, if I knock Anthony Joshua out again, or if I beat Anthony Joshua, I would fight Tyson Fury instead of Deontay Wilder. Probably similar level of payday and less risk in terms of concussive force.
Yeah.
But as of recently, though, so this Ruiz knockout of Joshua and the draw between Wilder and Fury, all that's actually good for heavyweight. It's
great.
because
It's
adding
great.
all these other players.
Because we're talking about it.
Yeah,
This would have been an afterthought if Joshua would have just did what he normally does and beat him. We wouldn't even brought it up.
Whether Ruiz is a flash in the pan or not, we don't know. But now he's
Right.
a new player in the mix, so you definitely got to take him into consideration. So
Exactly.
it is actually more exciting to it. Okay,
100%.
it's long overdue.
Absolutely.
On a segue, I think the boys should raise their glasses for, arguably the GOAT of the hip hop culture. Mr. Sean Carter has become the first hip hop billionaire.
That is cool.
You know what I'm
That's
saying?
very cool, man.
Salute to you,
Sure.
Jay. You know what I'm
Congrats
saying?
on that.
You know what I'm saying?
Like the Jordan
Business,
one.
man. Been showing us the blueprint since '96, man. Appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Get yours.
It's a lot of bread, a lot of money, a lot of assets.
Yeah. I mean, when you think that you can just go from being a drug dealer to being a part of mainstream A-list culture to a point where you're
You skipped over something from the drug dealer to being arguably one of the illest MCs ever.
Right, but it all
You know what I'm
culminates.
saying?
I'm just saying, this is where he started.
saying?
And now he's got all kinds of brands, his hands in all kinds of pots. A wife that's got a Brinks truck behind her at all times. So
I am a hustler, baby.
Yeah,
I sell
good for him,
water
man.
to a whale. You know what I'm
Good
saying?
for him.
Show you the blueprint, man. You know what I'm saying? That's all.
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I'm
Good
saying?
for him.
yeah, that's right. You don't put $1 in my pocket. But
No, man. That's,
congrats
just
to him.
that's inspiring for the people.
From a historical perspective, that goes down, for the rest of life. You know what I mean? That type of thing. If climate change doesn't wipe out the population by 2050, like I just read on the way here, then people will
I meant to send you
be
that.
talking
About the Australian
about
report? Yeah.
Jay-Z for the rest of life, for
Yeah.
eternity. I mean, it's no different than us talking or, knowing of Muddy Waters, how his influence was on music even today, like, from rock and roll to where R&B to everything. So him being the first billionaire rap artist,
Yeah,
that's profound.
A billionaire.
Yeah,
It wasn't supposed to
with a
last.
B. Right.
About 50.
It wasn't supposed to last.
Right. Is he 50?
Yes.
He is 50 years old?
Yeah.
Okay.
He's 50.
He's
Yeah.
like 69.
That ain't bad.
Oh, no,
Yeah.
no, he's still gonna drop more records.
I'm trying to
Right.
get them ones. I'm trying to get them
Now
M's.
back on this, always on this sports topic.
Yeah.
Did you get a chance to read that link about the transgender hurdler?
No.
No, and why would I? That sounds all terrible. Like, that just doesn't even sound like, first of all, we're talking about a hurdler. Like, no disrespect to the hurdle gang, but yeah, no.
That was nothing but disrespect
yeah,
to the hurdle gang. For him to say,
hey, man, this we, hey, man,
that's all I heard right there.
Hey, man, listen, we bring the topics, man. We bring the topics. I'm just saying, from the rip when I heard that, I heard.
No, man, I ain't read that. What about the wins?
Continue, bro. That's why I love you. Go ahead, man.
All right, so the hurdler's name is Cece Telfer, right?
CC
Goes to Franklin Pierce University. They say this person won the 400-meter hurdles at the NCAA Division II Outdoor Track and Field Championship on Saturday. Winning the race by more than a second. Now, the thing is this is a picture.
So,
we'll put that up for you. Why you high? So was that boys or girl? What was?
that was
Born
male to female.
Born correct. Right. Male to female. And as of January 2018, she was competing, you know what I'm saying? Cece was
We're all working on it. We're all working on it.
Cece was competing against the men in the men's
Yeah.
competition. And some people are noticing that the times that Cece had against the men weren't all that competitive. And then this year, competing against the women,
Now, did you read this article?
yes.
Has she gotten the surgery?
They didn't mention the surgery, but I think I read that in another article that did have the surgery, and she's also been suppressing testosterone for a year. That's one of the requirements that you have to have, I guess.
So she did have the surgery? Like, no nuts?
I don't think there's any
Because if you got balls, you probably shouldn't be competing in women's events.
So I'm not sure if she had balls again.
Well, regardless if you got
That's
them or
sort
not,
of
since she was more,
where I
still
draw,
pumping
like,
you?
I guess if you hit them, mind you, my logic here could be just way off and I could be offensive. But
Yeah, brother, take
I
it
feel
there.
like if you have balls, you probably shouldn't be competing in women's events because you are at a marked disadvantage. Like, I can't just go and compete in like a bench press competition in a local Y or some shit. Like, maybe I win, maybe I don't, but
actually, you could.
I have an advantage just because I'm a male. So, with she being or having the male parts, like it's like I can't remember her name, but a couple years ago there was a transgender mixed martial artist that was male to female that fought, and people thought it was unfair until some real chick beat her ass.
I was
and that
gonna
just
touch
made
on
it all
that too.
different.
I wanna bring that too.
But that feels a bit.
Okay, well, having
That
balls,
don't feel
right?
right
You have testicles. They
Oh
produce
God, this
testosterone,
is
right?
wild.
So this is the reason why but this is the reason why when they say, well, if you're going to be a male transitioning to a female, you want to compete against other females, that we need you to, I guess it's like hormone therapy, testosterone.
There's got to be something. Shit, yeah. You got to
testosterone suppressing.
do what you can to level the playing field.
Do what you have to
That you have
to
to
get your
do.
balls.
You have to do this for a year,
Right.
in order to compete, right? Because testosterone is what helps you build muscle and things like that.
Right.
Okay.
Now I understand all that, right? But for me, I think it still this person still has an unfair advantage because even though they've undergone this therapy for a year or so,
Right.
and they've reduced their level of testosterone, their muscle
It's for life. You're a dude.
their muscle mass has
Bless
decreased,
you.
and they're not able to build muscle like they used to when they were naturally producing testosterone. There were years
Decades.
Caitlyn Jenner will bust
that
a
they
girl's
were
ass in the race.
producing testosterone and building muscle and training as a
Bruce.
sprinter. And I don't think taking 1 year off will totally diminish all that muscle that you
So,
built over
and
time. So you
obviously,
still have that
they're not
unfair
looking to
advantage.
diminish, but more to the point, I don't think just that 1 year levels the playing field.
And they want you to have.
It's never going to level the
your
playing field.
testosterone level at that time has to be under a certain limit in order to compete with.
It's not going to happen.
And that's the issue they were having with the what's the South African sprinter's name? Samaya or something like that. But
I know what you're talking about.
She dominant, got mad,
like
crazy
kept testing.
Yeah, but she's a natural born woman.
Yeah,
She just has really high testosterone levels, and it's actually it's playing a part in her dominating. Obviously, you know what I mean. But so yeah, they want you to keep it underneath a certain point, certain level. But like I said, I still think that person has an unfair advantage because they've been a man for so long.
Yeah,
it's like you're
I mean,
not.
that's facts, though. That's not.
You can even see it in the picture. You can see the definition, and it's like I know you've been off it for a year, but you still got. And also, I don't think it's fair.
Like, I'm sorry. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm sorry. I'm going to be that dude in the corner. I am that fella. I'm not PC over here. You're a dude. You wanted to try to cross over, whatever. You're still a dude. There's no way in the world that as your dude ass, you should be competing in a woman's competition. Well, this is because you still got male tendencies, dog. Like, and you're going to have them for life. You can never fucking get away from them.
Well, look, it also says in the article, right, that out of 3 races.
Sorry, for the people, man. Like, I'm sorry. There's 2 PC shit going on. Like,
look, there were 3 other races, right? 3 times, or 3 other races that CC Telford had. It was in the 60-meter dash, the 60-meter hurdles, and the 200-meter dash that didn't measure up to the male finalists, right? But her times in those races won women's races. So last year, when this person was running as a male, those times were good enough to beat the males, right? But now that she's running as a female, those times are good enough to actually win through those females' races. So I just don't think that's fair to the other women.
No,
because she's a fucking dude.
Being a man, a born female,
I don't care.
And losing to her, like.
Now, Brandon, look.
How could you not be irate?
I'm saying that. Listen, now, just because this person is born a male doesn't mean that he's going to dominate every single race, because there are some women who are just naturally talented. You can't be, well, God bless the dead, you can't beat FloJo in a sprint.
I couldn't.
You couldn't either. You know what I'm saying? You're probably not even in high school. Right. In your prime, you still couldn't beat her flat out in a sprint. I mean, it's just a natural gift that she has.
Yeah.
But I think for this person here, this just is totally.
Man, anytime you go to that, it's a natural disadvantage because bottom line is you was not born of that gender that you're racing in. So get the fuck out of here. And like, you know what I'm saying? And that's that.
It's
like,
more common to see this when you have men transitioning to women. Hell yeah. They want to compete against females.
Because the male is going to get dusty.
No, there was one. There was a female, a boxer. She went from female to male, and she's competing as a boxer.
And she's professional?
She might be. You have to look it up. I forget. Some light-skinned black chick.
She need to go get trained by Ann down south. She get her ass right. Wolf, you know what I'm talking about. Get her ass right.
But those are very few in between that you see women transitioning to men and then competing in men's sports. Usually it's men transitioning to women.
Correct.
And I feel like they do that because they know.
Hell yeah, absolutely. How could you not?
Women, you know what I mean? Yeah. It's like that's kind of corny too. It's like
yeah, it really is. I mean,
and I understand parents get upset. There was a wrestler in Texas that did the same thing. The boy transitioned to a girl, started dominating all these other high school girls. And
hell yeah.
So how does that make you feel when you come in second to this person as a female? Like, come on.
Like, it shouldn't make you feel no type of way because bottom line is you on some bullshit.
Well, that's what I'm saying. It's like, yo, you're still on my shine. Like,
you like, listen, I'll tell you that at the match. You're a guy.
Like, I would be.
This is a female competition. You're not that. I don't give a fuck about your post-op surgery. What were you born as?
Or
balls.
Now it begs to ask this question.
Hey man, no beef.
Since we have
how the hell no that
I know no beef.
Yeah, right.
No beef.
You can't. I can't. You gotta open your mind, man. Like you can't just be like you're a dude. Like that's not.
But does it? But
no, I don't have to open my mind.
No, you know you fucking do because it's 2019. Like you can't stay this way forever because you're going to get left behind.
Where? Left behind
because it's not going anywhere. At some point, this will be a moot point because there will just be a transgender lane.
Now that's what I was going to say.
Good, and that's why I have no problem with that, Tyree.
Right,
because
I have no problem with that.
You have men's competition.
Go ahead.
No, I mean, like
for a reason.
It's just at a point where there's enough viable athletes.
Do that. I don't have a problem with y'all doing your. Listen, you're getting it. Like you think I have a problem with people being transgender? I don't. What I'm saying is,
no, because when you go, you're a guy.
Yes,
to somebody who identifies as a girl that immediately says that you have a problem with it.
No,
and
it's
whether
not-
or not I agree with it or not, that's
So
going to
let
be
me
the
say what I gotta
perception.
say.
Go right
I
ahead.
say you're a guy when you're a fucking guy going into a female sport
I get
because
that.
you're a fucking guy.
Right.
And you don't like it, so fucking be it.
Right.
But I'm not gonna tell you that on the basis of how you living. You come up to me, you in your female attire, and this, that, and the third. I'm not gonna say you're a fucking guy. No, you're a female.
So
you're
down
on
the
your
street
shit.
is one thing, but if
Yes,
they-
dog, out the street. But if you in competition and you on some female shit and you was born as a man, you're a fucking guy. Don't like it? Fuck it. Come see Sleeves. That's it. I'm PC with y'all. That's it, man. You know what I mean? Period, dog.
Man, like
The balls.
He took off his glasses for that, so he could see clear.
But like what you were saying, now creating that third lane.
Right, that's-
But are people going to be okay with creating a third lane?
Why
Because-
not? We might as well.
Because
But
I
they wanna
feel
be
like
inclusive,
a woman,
like-
and I want to compete as
Right.
a woman, or I feel like
An
a man.
inclusive
I want
society
a third
should
lane.
not have a third lane. I don't disagree with that, but as this progresses and as we have more transgender athletes going into those lanes where, from a genetic standpoint, they either have an advantage or disadvantage, the only logical step is to, I mean, it's no different than X amount of years ago where they had women competing in events where they were male specific, but now we have a female category. Like, that's the natural progression. It's just a matter of if and when.
No, I feel you.
Shit crazy.
I think I personally think
It's
right now. I
it's
think-
wild, and it's
But it's real.
not something that we thought that
And
we
you
would
know,
be
but
dealing
you
with
can say- I know,
when
right?
we were kids. That's life.
And even right now, today, in this moment, you can say, "Well, I feel like they should have that today," but then there aren't enough athletes.
Right, it's like 3. So
Yeah,
right, yeah,
there's
right.
not enough of them really
So
just
no,
to have that.
no. But if it got to that point, then maybe that could be a discussion. But I mean, it's just, it doesn't shock me, and it's just, it does kind of make
It has to get to that point. I mean,
You know
it's
what I'm
like
saying? Because it does
WNBA.
make a disadvantage. Like, that's not fair. Like, to them
Right,
ladies.
they don't play in the NBA for reasons. of
Right,
Exactly.
It's
right.
like-
And there might have been, we were too young to remember this, but with her being like one of the greatest, if not the greatest women's basketball player of all time, there was
Miller.
likely scuttlebutt about Cheryl Miller thinking that she could be NBA potential, that there were likely people in the NBA that she was better than, and
Busting
she should have
their
got a
ass.
shot.
Exactly.
I mean, I'm quite sure her little brother could have attested to that, but it
Exactly.
never happened because that was just life back then. So,
So
you know.
I was gonna say, yeah, I'm sure there were people in the NBA.
What was her era when she?
Of course.
What was she? 80s when she was
Yeah,
born?
like 70s. I think it was like 70s, early 80s when she got out of UCLA, probably 80, 81, something like that.
She was busting their ass.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Too easy. Too easy. Plus, she was like 6-something as a scorer, not even like a post scorer. Like, she shoot wherever the fuck she feel like it. So, no, that ain't fair. But, and on some real, back then in that NBA,
Yeah, I
it was
know.
violent, but shoot or shoot. So,
And she was about that anyway. She
Right.
was jumping her brother, so like she was about
Right.
that tough shit. So it didn't matter. She throw them bowls back and rumble a nigga right on the spot. Like, I have no doubt that Cheryl, like, what nigga? Sock a nigga right on sight, like, with no problem.
Yeah, I don't think
And
anybody thinks she would have been like toiling on the bottom of a bench.
No, at all. No, like, she would have been good.
Minutes
Niggas would have
and
had to
buckets.
be dapping her. Like, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
Fuck that. We got Cheryl, nigga. I'll beat you the fuck up.
Right,
You know what I'm
right.
saying? We balling.
Right.
Calling plays.
You know what I'm saying?
But,
Get on board. Seriously. So,
and I'm quite sure in those days she was like, man, I wish there was a league specific for women here in the U.S. and I didn't have to go across the world just to play.
Yeah.
And what it
Shit.
take, 90 whatever, when the WNBA came out.
late 90s, though.
Right. So took a minute, but it happened, and it could be the same thing with this lane here. Maybe 2030, 2035, there's a whole transgender category in the Olympics.
Well, if that's 2035, that means well, I only go by what the Almighty says. But at the end of the day, if we go by what she was talking about earlier, that Australian report, they talking about it might be a wrap by 2050 with this climate control,
It
man.
was supposed to be a rap in 2000.
I'm gonna need to get past 70. You know what I'm saying? You know, I feel like if I can get to 80, I'm like, whatever happens, it happens. But 70, no, I need another
Sure,
decade.
from the kidless guy.
Huh? So what? What the hell else got to do with anything?
2050 would be what, 60, right?
Yeah, but I don't want the world to end if I
70.
got kids.
So it'd be 60.
70.
What about for
Do the
them?
math, brother. We'd be 70, huh?
I got kids. What about for them?
What about
I
it?
don't want the world to come to an end.
Oh, well, yeah, man. That sucks, man. That's messed up for them, man. You know, they wish they would have lived longer, but, you know.
I'll be
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah.
No, I feel you. Yeah, no, stick in your babies. Stick in your babies.
There's other people
Yeah,
aside
yeah,
from me.
I get it, but I ain't gonna do that.
It's not just about me.
2030, I'll be 50.
That's I said 2030 with the Olympics is what I was talking.
I said 2050.
Oh, 2050.
You'd be 60, and again, that's when they talking about the supposed to
No, we'd be 70. We'd be 70.
70?
Yes.
Yes, nigga.
That's what I said. We only be at 70. Boy.
I don't believe it.
Yeah.
70?
Yeah.
Ooh, it's supposed to be 60, my man.
No. You could be 60. That's how you feel. At that point in time,
you been going
you
minus
can be
10 in the
whatever
streets.
age-
Tell them motherfuckers how old you are.
At
Yeah,
that point in
baby, I'm
time,
only 29.
You can do whatever you feel like you are in 2050. If you feel
Yeah,
like you're
I ain't got
13,
shit.
you can be 13.
Hey,
If you
shit,
feel like
I
you
mean,
were
besides
cat
my
20,
family
you
and shit,
can
like,
be a cat.
but like,
No
nigga,
matter.
I ain't got no head, nigga. I probably got a tooth. You know what I'm saying? OG, what's up, OG? 70.
Sitting courtside critiquing players.
But the thing about climate change and all that, man, is that there's so many ignorant fuckers out there that just think it's all bullshit. Like the first cold day means that it's not true and it doesn't mean anything. Wow, we got 6 inches of snow today. I don't know about all this climate change happening. Like,
I mean, if we game over the last couple of years, it's been wild.
Antarctic is so much more water than it used to be.
Exactly,
Like,
dog.
so many more areas.
I think the
of-
issue
it's
with
just-
the whole climate change thing is I'm not saying that climate change isn't a real deal. I mean, actually, we've got all these
it seems real.
emissions and all that
Very
stuff,
real.
right? But, you know, the planet is...
The sea level rising in the
I'm not saying that. What I'm saying is that we don't know if temperatures have really risen exponentially before, say, like 4,000 years ago. Like, this is something that happens like every couple millennia.
Oh, you saying this happened
heats
before
up,
or something
and
like
like,
this?
yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, you know,
Yeah,
for
man,
sure,
shit.
like, it just heats up. It could heat up and cool off, or this could be real, and we're just heating up, and these ice caps and everything are melting, and the sea levels are rising, and they're not going to return back to levels that they used to be in some other, you know, because, like you say, Earth is a living organism, right? And if these emissions are toxic to it, like other living organisms, they get rid of toxins to maintain a certain temperature.
Wipe out the dinosaurs,
Right.
so it might just wipe out all
Because like
the
when you have,
distance.
I mean, look, like your body can be full of
Start all
toxins,
over.
you can get sick, and your body temperature can raise, right?
Right.
And then eventually you heal yourself and you come back down to a
Right,
normal level.
right,
And it
right.
might take a few days.
But internally, the body does what it needs to do to
to
self-sustain.
regulate itself.
Correct.
You know what I'm saying? So I don't really know.
Right, that's when asteroids come and just blow us the hell out of here.
If we are the virus, though, the question is how does the Earth get rid of the virus?
Right.
You see what I'm saying? To
Absolutely.
regulate itself.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? So
Right.
it's like, well, maybe
So it's going to take.
maybe we'll just heat up until the
Exactly.
virus
Maybe
dies.
it's going to take the Earth another 31 years to figure out how to wipe our ass out of here.
Then
According to
let's
that
come
other
back
model.
off.
Right.
Start over. You know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
The way they talking about this is a lot of places are going to be flooded out, big. You know what I'm saying? Because of the water. And you're going to have to relocate. They talking about relocate billions of people. Like, so, like you know
One
what I'm saying?
thing we know for sure is change is happening. We'll see how it happens in due time.
Yeah, exactly. That's all we can do, baby.
Did y'all get a chance to check out the article I sent about the police?
One thing I wanted to bring up because I just watched it earlier. Did y'all hear about the dude from The Chi? Jason Mitchell.
Oh, my
You
man.
watch The Chi?
Grab ass?
No, do you watch The
I
Chi?
know you watched
Yeah.
it though.
You
Grab ass?
Yeah, man. Like he's essentially ruined his life.
What did he do?
So
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
got so many harassment allegations that he's removed from The Chi.
Yeah.
He was doing a movie on Netflix, got kicked out of that.
Exactly.
That's a talent agency, kicked him out of that.
Exactly.
Like his publicist.
This is the
got
same
rid of
guy
him.
from
Black
Eazy-E
and,
in Straight Outta Compton.
Mudbone too. or-
Right, Mudbone.
Mudbone Bound by was it?
He was in
What's that other Netflix movie? Mud something with Mary J. Blige.
I don't
I don't know. dog.
He was in what's the other one?
Mudbound, maybe something.
Damn.
Well,
He was Kong Skull Island. He was a soldier in that. But most people know him either from The Chi or Eazy-E in Straight Outta Compton.
So what are the allegations about? Are they founded or?
Grab ass.
Yeah, apparently, like his co-star that he's on-screen romantic interest had. They won't get specific, but there have been numerous reports from various sources that he's just been acting all types of inappropriate. I mean, if it's not to the point where he's only getting taken away from Showtime, but like
Cut.
everything.
Cut.
Right.
Cut. Like, nigga, what are you doing? Grab ass.
He's like,
oh no, I'm saying, you know what I mean? I'm in character. I'm going full character. Like,
he's
nah,
getting blackballed. Like he's getting blackballed from Hollywood. Where
oh, he getting the Isaiah Washington right now. In a different type of way though.
I need an example.
No, nigga,
they don't give. I haven't seen an article that says specifically what he's done.
No, I mean, I read something. I mean, basically the allegations, because they don't want to, I mean, come all the way out with it, but basically the allegations is, yeah, dog, like he fondue king right now. Like he don't know how to chill on set.
Okay.
Like, yeah, with these women, like he need to chill. Like, dog, you on set, cut. It got so bad for the co-star you're talking about right now from The Chi. She was asking her husband to come on set, like, yo, bro, I need you on here to make sure when these niggas say cut, this nigga cut.
Which
like,
means she's just a banging ass actress because she's like playing the part. Like, you know what I mean? Like,
this nigga
showing love.
He McThirsty, and it's like, dog, what are you fucking thirsty for? Like,
it's crazy, yeah, because you're famous. It's
like, come on, dog.
Listen, man, you don't know any reason why people do what they do.
You right.
So.
Might be on that
all
narcotic,
kinds
man.
of reasons, man. Like,
Nigga, MC grab ass, man.
grab ass.
You know what I'm saying?
it's just a shame because everything I've seen him and he's been good.
No,
And
he
it's
can't
like,
be here.
you hate to see somebody with talent just wasted.
I mean, you just
away.
hope he get his stuff together. But at least in that, he can, not for nothing, something like that, he can go to counseling, maybe have to take a year off, but he can come back and make a quality comeback because of how that went down. But I don't know about, I mean, I don't mean to bring him up again because we always bring him up, but Smully ain't probably never coming back, man. The boy, Jay Smollett, like, from, you know what I'm saying? Like, you done.
Daniel said that he's not coming back.
Yeah, I'm not even talking about to that show. I'm just saying you ain't never coming back, nigga. Like, like, you know what I'm saying? You kind of did yourself in with that. I think you can come back more from.
He might get that. Was that the BET Arabesque movie?
They don't even do them joints no more.
Trying to get a co-star with Dwayne Wayne, but.
That's what I was gonna say.
So I didn't watch Empire, but like Fox and Ron Johnson. But I guess I mean like anything else in life, it depends on his level of talent.
Yeah.
If people think he's good enough, his ass will get another shot. Now in terms of when, I don't know, but I haven't seen enough of him to be like, oh no, ain't no
It's
way.
always going to
put him back.
be, he can chill out for a couple years and then come back and do a film and people will be, it'll spark people's curiosity and they want to see.
Right. Well, yeah.
And then I was like, let me check this out. He's in this movie. He hasn't been around now in the spotlight for a couple years since the whole scandal. So let me see what he's got going on.
I mean,
It's
what
always
the
that.
hell? What did Rob Lowe bang an underage chick in the 80s?
Yeah.
And he was like
color is it?
star of the West. I'm just saying that shit happens and you know they get that room and they sweep it under. We don't know. Give it time.
I do
It just
know.
happened. No,
I do know.
I'm
No
just
brother,
saying
no
it
brother
just-
is coming back.
It's Smollett. It just happened. So if this time next year we like, wow, he should get an Oscar for that movie he was in. Whoa, who knows?
Come back.
No. I agree on that. I just was good when since you brought Rob Lowe. I'm like, yeah, ain't no brothers.
Coming back.
Let's come back.
We don't get
No, that one, yeah, no.
That's a mighty one. No. You know what I'm saying? This all. It's cool though. Like,
Let's see.
definitely will see, man. But, yeah,
All right, let's see. This other thing before we wrap this up, man. I don't know if y'all got a chance to read this. I thought this. It's surprising, but it's not surprising. But it should be an eye opener for a lot of people. Anyway, so here in Philly, now this is also part of because it's like a local thing too.
as we got to.
The Plainview Project, right? They went and analyzed accounts of police officers from 8 departments across the country. These are their social media accounts, Facebook, things of that nature, right? So they looked at about 2,900 current officers, 800 retired officers. And they were searching to compile posts and comments and other public activity that could undermine public trust in the police and reinforce the views of the critics, especially in minority communities, that the police are not there to protect them. So they had certain criteria that these posts had to meet, right? They had to display bias, applaud violence, scoff at due process, or use dehumanizing language or some other kind of sexist language. And they found a bunch of posts that were mocking Mexicans, women, and black people and celebrating the Confederate flag. Showed a man wearing a keffiyeh scarf and the crosshairs of a gun. It's like an Arab kind of scarf and crosshairs of a gun. So they went and found that 1 in every 5 current officers made some comments that met those standards, and 2 in every 5 of the retired officers made comments that met those standards. And now they actually identified 330 active local officers public Facebook quotes that were included in the database, and all these officers made quotes that kind of met the criteria. And these are just the officers who didn't have, I guess, like a security wall up on their Facebook account, so it was public.
You talking about Philly officers?
Philly police officers.
Oh, I mean, I can attest to that right now. Been there.
Right. So now the question is that once you identify these officers, right? Me personally, I think if you're a police officer and you're making racist comments, sexist comments, you're supporting people getting, you're not in support of due process, okay? I don't think you have any place on any police force anywhere. I don't think this is the kind of scenario where you need to get some type of sensitivity training or something like that, because it's not going to make you more sensitive. You know what I mean? You're just going to go to class and sit through it because you're required to. But I think if you have these type of biases, that you really just need to be fired, because if you're bold enough to put this stuff out there online and make it public, who's to say that you're not really going to carry out these same feelings, thoughts, and behaviors, show these same biases out there on the streets when you're policing people? You can't sit there and say, oh no, that's just a joke, a racist joke I posted online about lynching a black dude. But when I'm out there in North Philly policing black people, I go out there completely and totally unbiased. You know? It's just...
So, I can't find a reason to disagree. I agree with everything you said.
But that's just not reality.
Right.
That's just
But we're not speaking of reality. He's just saying what should happen in a just society. But the fact that it's 1 in 5 and 2 in 5
retired
means that if we just had 2 other homies in here, then there would be somebody,
But it shatters that whole myth of it just being a few bad apples. It's like, no, it's mad bad apples.
Yeah. And these are just
the ones who made their accounts public, which also goes to show that the requirements to be an officer of the law are already extremely low. And this is a testament to that. This is a lack of intelligence on the officer's end. Mm-hmm. It's like, how could you be so stupid to willingly make these racist, posts public?
And again, I agree with everything you're saying, but somebody has to play devil's advocate. To be a police officer, you had to be an active member of Mensa, then there would be a low number of candidates.
Exactly.
So the high school diploma is the only requisite, and the idea that you can grow, in that area.
The people that are running most of the department are some of these 1 out of 2 out of 5 people.
Right.
So I mean,
not to mention they are more to the point than 2 hours.
Yeah.
Because they are old school.
Exactly.
And
they came from that Rizzo
generations prior to us, that Rizzo generation.
Exactly.
But it's beyond the Rizzo generation. This has been going on there since.
Absolutely.
We just use him as a time stamp.
Because we're talking in Philadelphia specifics, but Rizzo and prior, obviously, since the dawn of law enforcement.
Exactly.
That generation, 2, 3, 1 generations prior to us, they are firm in their beliefs, and
that ain't never
there'll
gonna
be
change.
an easier job to sway us one way or the other than to sway them that it should be inclusive. I get it, but the nigga should only give us so much.
I put it to you like this, man, and it's a flip on the devil's advocate too. All right. Listen, a lot of them being as though, like I said, I don't got to go into specifics of my shit, but being as though I'm fresh off a situation and dealing with them. Like real rap, I can be completely honest. Yes, I sense that some of them may have that in them, but I also got to feel that they fucking human. Like they got their little thoughts, but it's like everything is situational, because I was in a situation where I had a dude that was completely off his rocker talking crazy shit to him. All right. And they could have just put every black man in that box because he was the fuck wildin', telling them that he was going to fuck their wives when he got out of there. All right. To their face. All right. But being as though,
for context, this was somebody detained. This was a cop.
Yes.
Somebody detained was speaking to the officer.
Yes.
Saying that while you were there.
Yes.
Okay.
And in that, if he just, wanted to just have his moment, he could have made everybody fucking suffer. right off of that. And they didn't. So it still comes down to human nature. Like, they still may be on some shit, but it still comes down to whatever they're going to do in a case-by-case manner with that shit. So it's just wild. But it's fucked up that it has to be that way.
And I get it. And I get that they deal with, dealing with the public can be crazy. You just got to deal with some really messed up people out there, right? So then it begs the question, it's like, well, I understand a lot of people become police officers not because they grew up wanting to be a police officer. Not because they grew up believing in the order of law, things of that nature.
They got chunked.
But, and not even necessarily because of that. But how many other jobs can you take where the only requirement you need is to have a high school diploma and you have the potential to make six figures with overtime and things of that nature? Mm-hmm. There really isn't anything that you can do besides become a police officer. You can do that, and you get some
also a lot of other things,
and some other benefits. Legally, that you can make six figures with a high school diploma.
Yes.
Wait. Hold on. Let me say this. And you are an unskilled individual. We're talking about to become a police officer. You just have to go to the police academy for a couple of weeks. Mm-hmm. We're not saying you have to go to a trade school for 2 years to get your degree. We're not saying you got to go to. Everybody knows.
Fire department.
Yeah. Fire department too, I guess.
Paramedics,
civil service position.
Exactly, mailman, like all the motherfuckers.
Well, I don't know about.
But no, listen, dog, I do.
Well, yeah.
But in some of those other civil service positions, it's going to be a little more difficult to get in and to make that same kind of money.
As fast as they would, just because of the level of overtime.
Listen, dog, I know a cop for 25 years, dog. You know how long it took her to even get close to some fucking six figures? Like, I don't know what you're thinking with this overtime, dog. They be getting like 40 grand coming out. Like, you know what I'm saying? Overtime might get 60 grand a year or something like that. Like, they ain't killing it all crazy. Like, the upper dudes is killing it. Them regular street uniform? No, baby.
But look. But to get the overtime, right? If you're one of those cops that's out there, these are the police officers we're talking about. I don't want to call them problem officers. But if you're one of those police officers out there constantly making arrests and constantly writing tickets, you will get the overtime that will enable you to make those six figures. Okay. There's even another documentary about some cops up in New York that are suing their...
and you pull over the right amount of niggas, you're going to make that six figures anyway.
These cops have been pulled...
That's all. Give me that.
They've been prevented from getting certain promotions, even though they score really well on their tests, simply because they refuse to go out and write summonses for nonsense, to go out and arrest people for nonsense. They refuse to meet these quotas that their sergeants give out to them every day. They're not just going to go and arrest people just because because the sergeant says we need to go out and make arrests. You see what I'm saying? But if you're one of those people that will do that, then you get all that overtime. Yeah, you get all those cake assignments, and then you
sure want some of that overtime.
Right. You see what I'm saying? And I'm pretty sure that a lot of people making these racist comments online have no problem going out, making these arrests, writing all these tickets, and they really want to get that overtime so they can make it six figures because they have a high school diploma. So I don't know. I just think it's crazy. I don't even know if it should be one of those kind of things where you can't make a career out of being a police officer. Maybe it's one of those kind of scenarios where you can only serve 4 years, 8 years, and then you have to go on and do something else because the job can be so stressful. Because
or at least mature into something else.
Yeah, like, I mean, these are like genie bottle type.
Right, but you know what I'm saying?
It's impossible for that to happen. But in a perfect society, I would agree with something like that because I think the country would be a better place if every able adult had to serve in civil service 3 to 6 months every 5 years or some shit like that. Like if it ran that way, it would give a greater awareness on a million different levels, and I think would make things a little better. But we're too far progressed in the other direction as society to even entertain something like that.
Indeed, man.
Yeah. Good times.
The balls, man.
Hey, well, all right, so man, we about to go watch the rest of the finals.
You know what I'm saying? Yeah.
See the claw, buckets.
You know, that's all.
Now he's suing Nike because they try to steal
his claw,
man. Damn,
exactly, dog. Like, buckets.
Right.
Get boys, nigga.
Like, damn, I don't even talk. I gotta get every endorsement I can get. And y'all sitting there.
I wear New Balances. He rock New Balances and be busting niggas' ads.
Right.
Like, you know what I'm saying? He busted shit.
Listen, boy, man, get paid, baby.
Listen, he got a Sixers shirt on. I'm a Sixers fan. Listen, he bust our ass with that John. The claw is real. You know what I'm saying?
I wish we could have rented him, but
You know what I'm
It
saying?
makes sense that we didn't. I mean, they had DeMar DeRozan to give up.
Yeah.
We didn't really have nothing like that.
We could have gave Ben Simmons up. I'd have been cool with that.
No.
Shit, I would have been.
You say that now.
I know that now.
Just give it time. Yeah, right. You know it in the present. But just wait and see.
Wait for what? Nigga, either you got it or you don't. No, I don't see it. I don't see it.
We'll see.
Killer instinct. That's what I need to see. Where your killer at, nigga? I know ballers. You know what I'm saying? Jimmy Butler, baller. You know what I'm saying? And B, baller when it's time. When he not shooting that bullshit.
So Giannis is a baller?
Yeah, fucking right.
Right.
Exactly.
Right. Yeah.
He got you see, the work ethic. Go at it. Daily. I'll never stop till I'm the greatest. You know what he did
Everybody
when he dunked
you
on Ben?
named.
You know what he did when he dunked on Ben? He called him a little boy.
Everybody you
Little
named
girl.
been in the league longer than 2 years. That's what I'm saying.
He been in the league longer than 2 years.
He ain't played longer than 2 years.
I don't care. He been in the league longer than 2 years. I ain't got shit to do with his hurt year or whatever.
It counts whether you got anything to do with it.
You've been in
or
there
not.
3
You
years.
sit
You're
on
going
the
into your
bench.
fourth. Hey, stop. Guess what? He's coming into his 4th year as a professional, and he still can't shoot a fucking pull-up jump shot.
Correct.
Right? Terrible. Fuck out
Everybody
of
would
here.
like him to.
Like,
You
nigga
get rid of
can't even do a layup finger roll regular. Fuck out of here. Get some. All you gotta work on is this over the summer, Ben, and your jump shot, nigga. Get some heart and work on your
I mean,
jump
he ain't
shot.
going nowhere, so you must get used to it.
What you mean? When his contract up, I think he's fleeing. Yeah, I don't think he want to be here with Embiid. He want to go West Coasting. LeBron retired. I see him in a Laker uniform all day long.
If he waiting for LeBron to retire,
LeBron probably gonna retire like the next 2-3 years.
Think so?
Yeah. Like, dog, that Lake shit about to be done, and then he about to waste some of his prime years over there. Like, listen, dog, he's not going to the chip in a minute. Like, listen, he came from 8 years of going to the motherfucking finals.
See, I only say he won't retire yet because I think he wants to play with his son in an NBA game. Like, I think that's like a personal goal.
All right, so even if that,
So that's like 5 years away.
all right, so even
Oh, well, it's 5 years away currently, but if rules change, then he might be able to get right out of high school.
They gonna play for another 5 because LeBron is 33 now, right?
I don't know.
D Wade just retired at like 37. If LeBron could do something like pull a Brady and play the 40s,
Vince is
he would.
41, 42.
Yeah, Vince is, but hold,
But that's an
hold,
extremely rare case, though.
That's a
Well,
humble.
LeBron is an extremely rare case.
No. But see, when you talk Vince and LeBron, it's a difference.
Nobody said be a superstar in year 22.
But I don't think I don't think
You don't think he would
LeBron
be that type of
James
dude to
can
be on
be
that
humble
role.
enough
Yeah.
to be like, I'm cool, dog. I'm gonna be the 7th, 8th off the bench or something. Cool,
Right.
teach these young boys. I'm gonna get this check. I'm good. I don't see him doing that. He wanted. He
He'll
been.
step down.
He been called. What he been called since the
Chosen one?
exactly
Yeah.
since the beginning of time. You ain't going from the chosen one to the bench one, and I'm just the teaching one. I don't see him doing that. So maybe I'll give you that though. 3 to 5 window. That's it.
Yeah, 5 at the max,
You know what I'm
but
saying?
5 wins.
And Ben's showing up in what, the next 2 years?
I don't know how the injury play into things, so it just might be his last joint until and they give him like an option. I don't really know.
And that, I'm just being honest.
It was the year after Embiid, and they just re-signed Embiid this past season earlier.
So my thing is this. I know they're gonna come at him with some. So by the end of next year, we'll know where it's at. But hopefully.
But the more important thing is the beginning of next year. If we don't see a jump shot, then we know what needs to be done. Like,
Yeah.
I love
All-Star
him. I hope
break.
they keep him. But if you don't develop a jump shot, you're just handicapping yourself and you gotta go.
Yeah, like that shit is terrible. Like I just play ball for fun, and I pull up in your fucking face. All right, you damn near 7 foot, and you scared to pull up in.
I shoot jumpers all the time. I miss them, but I'm
Yeah.
gonna keep shooting.
But exactly, the shooters shoot, nigga.
Always.
That's all. Fuck is wrong with y'all? What is you doing?
Right.
Let's go. You in Philadelphia. We're going to tell it like it is, man. Everything else we love. And also, lastly, when you play a playoff game and you fucking lose that game, I don't want to see your ass coming out of the hookah spot. Yeah, Ben. I saw your ass coming out after game 4 out the hookah spot, nigga. You lost. You should have been in the gym.
I followed you.
You know what I'm saying? Nigga, you should have been in the fucking gym working on your J, nigga.
Sound like Orange Juice Jones.
Get out of here, man. We out, man. We going in.
Bro, trying to get
You know
it
what I'm
back.
saying?
Trying to get it back.
That's all.
Yeah, man. Real quick before we bounce, man. Lost a brother in my neighborhood way too soon. Rest in peace, Kylie Wiley, Logan Legend. Miss you. Messed up.
Peace.
Salute, man.
Podcastbols.